Hello and welcome to this is watercolor painting special effects. I am not claiming that any of these techniques I'm going to show you are my own, but I have watched about 15 zillion YouTube videos and they'll say a great new watercolor technique, and it's like, no, I've seen that one before. No, I've seen that one before. So if you know what all of these things have in common, they are going to bring about different watercolor techniques. So let's get me, how about I get me set up and you hold on just a second and we'll get started. Okay, here I have a sheet of watercolor paper from a pad I've had for quite a while, and I have divided it up, measured it and divided it into spaces that are right about artist trading card sizes. Okay, and I have two that I have used washi tape to put down the dividers, and I'm just going to see how it goes. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do is to show different watercolor techniques and things that you can do to alter your backgrounds for artist trading cards. I do not claim to be an artist. I do not claim to be a professional. I do not really claim to know what I'm doing. I just claim that I enjoy playing with the watercolors. This is just water. It used to be a body splash, but it has found life again as my water bottle. I'm just going to spray these top three with water to get them wet, and I'm going to spread the water a little bit with my water brush. And I don't care that for this I'm going over the tape. I'm just getting it all wet. Okay, so now the first thing I'm going to do is put some color down. Let's go with this pretty blue. You can see how it's doing. There's a lot of water on there, and so the pigment is filling up the space. And this technique that I'm getting ready to show you is one of the most popular that I've seen on YouTube. It is one that I have seen over and over, and sometimes they'll say new technique, and it's not new. I've seen it on bazillions. Okay, that's my background. Now, you see that? What I'm going to do while it is still wet, this is just plain old iodized table salt. I am going to drop that on there and like that. Okay. That is what that is doing. Okay. Next. What's the next one after water? Let me put some of this paint down. I want my paint to be just a little wetter. 2 shades of red. Let's come down here with this blue. Okay. You see that? Pretty good. It's just water colors. And I am going to take a few drops of alcohol. I do not have a dropper. I am a poorly planned tuber. Ha, like a tuber is a potato. I am just going to drop drops. I say that, but All I had was the green rubbing alcohol. It's got wintergreen and glycerin in it. Aha! So there is some glycerin in that. Yep, y'all are seeing okay. But it is coloring. In addition, you see the circles that it made? It put down a little color in there too. And so we're going to see how they dry. Okay. For this next one. Okay, I've got a little bit of purple on here still. Get that zhuzhed out. I'll go back with a little more purple then. Oh, this was blue. And then I'm going to go in with this yellowy color. And I'm just going to come over here and color. Blue and gold were my high school colors. And you see how if I get the blue and the yellow mixed up too much, it just turns this gray, mucky color. I don't want that. So I'm not going to get in there that much with that, but I'm going to put some more color right here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, if I take this paper towel that has nothing on it, okay, it's just a dry paper towel. I have wiped my brush a couple times right here, but that's not what I'm going to touch it with. But you can see that this is really wet. It's very shiny and wet. Now I'm going to take the paper towel and I'm just going to blot up the color. So you can see there that if I want to go back with this, which I think is purple, nope, it's a deeper blue, and come up through the center of that, and then put some more water on it so it'll go in there. It's not going to be the first color, okay? It's going to be its own color because that third color is now, because when I put the paper towel on it, it's like, so this is how you can fix a boo-boo. The paint is on here. So if you realize, oh darn, I didn't mean to make that blue, I thought that was going to be purple or something, you can go back and fix that while the paint is still wet. Okay, now I'm going to come into the second row, because you kind of have to let all of these dry before you can truly see what it's going to do. All right, for this I'm going to come in here with a nice green. And I'm just going to put down just green, I think. I'm not going to, well, I might save some room for a yellow. Or blue. I think a blue. So these, what I'm making in this video, what I'm making and I plan to show you, these are going to be future backgrounds for my artist trading cards. And you can just see when the water is, no, when the paint is this wet, it just flows and does whatever it wants to do. Yes? So let's say we want to take up a little bit of the color. All right, here's a dime. If this were a larger picture, you could use a penny. But this is such a small area, 2.5 by 3.5, which is artist trading color size. And I've done it like that, okay? Kind of twisted it in my towel. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to stamp it and take up the paint there. So that can be a highlight if I needed a highlight there. I've changed to a different spot on the towel and I'm going to go here And I was putting down quite a bit of pressure. I'm going to go to a different spot because I don't want to be moving the paint to another place. What if we go to a spot that doesn't look, I mean, that green looks pretty full right there. Let's go down here. Okay, and I took up some of the yellow green. Okay, if this were wetter paint, the paint would just run over to those areas and fill them up. But I don't think it's going to do that on these. Okay, kind of go off the edge there. Okay, so that's that one. So if since this is for an artist trading card, maybe I can use this less pigmented area. Maybe I can draw something in there. Maybe that's where I want to write a sentiment or something like that. Huh? That's cool. So that's my dime. And I can't tell you where I have seen all of these ideas, simply because I've seen them all multiple places. Okay? And I've decided back on this one, I'm going to a clean part of towel, and I'm just going to take off some of that up there. Since I did go back in with the darker blue, I think I just wanted to take some of that out. Yeah. And the more you hold it down, the harder you press, the more paint will come up. Okay, let's see what else we can do. How about this color? These are the Sakura watercolors, and I love them. And I can feel this is pretty much dry. Okay, there. And there's nothing wrong at all with working watercolors dry. You can do it. You just get a totally different effect, which is not what I'm going for here, but I could. I want quite a bit of paint here. I'm going to come through with this other greenish, bluish. And what am I going to do? This is an even darker green. Okay. And so that you can see what I'm doing, I think I'm going to come back with this blue more in the middle so that we will hopefully be able to see what the effect is from bubble wrap on watercolors. Okay. I've seen some videos where it made quite a difference. I've seen others where it didn't seem to make any difference at all. I think part of that has to do with how wet your paints are. Part of it has to do with how long you let it sit. And anytime you use a stencil, it's important that you pull up, that you don't smear it and slide it sideways when you're coming off. That really got some interesting texture. Can you see the circles in that one? Beautiful. Exactly what I'm looking for, something different. Well, there's a hair. Let's not do that. Okay, this wet. Okay. Okay, red again, or orange. I'm not sure what this is. Oh, it's red. Pretty red. And you can see this watercolor paper. This is where the water has kind of soaked into the actual tooth of the paper and caused little divots, it looks like. I would say here too, more color. Watercolor always dries lighter than it is. So if you think, oh, that's too dark, that's too dark, by the time it dries, it won't be. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a piece of lace and I'm just going to lay it down, hoping that this lace, and this is dollar store lace, everything has been, so far, has been something from around the house. Alcohol, salt, the bubble wrap came in a package. So far, the dime belonged to me. It was my very own dime that I was willing to sacrifice for my art. All right. So while that's sitting there, this was the salt. This was the alcohol. This was the taking paint up with the paper towel. This was taking paint up with a penny or dime in the paper towel. And this was bubble wrap laid on wet. And that is a whole lot of nothing. If you can see on this, there is a little bit of texture, very little. So what let's do that and put it down. And now I'm going to come back with this orange. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Using it as a stencil. And I'm going to just kind of pretend that I mean for that don't think this is going to be as expressive even as the this lace did not make for the best fabric stencil, so we'll see. And while I'm here, I wanted to just take up this at the bottom, soak it up with my brush. My brush was pretty dry. I'm just going to soak it up because that's not going to add that much. It'll just make it extra long to dry. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. We'll see. So we have two more artist trading cards on this example. Let's see what we want to do. This wasn't long enough. So these are all vertical, and these two, I just laid them sideways to make sure that they would wonder if this would help. We'll see. Like I said, these aren't things I invented. These are just things I've seen on videos to give texture or interest or whatever to your watercolors, to your backgrounds. This next one I have wanted to try for quite a while, but I never have, so yay me. What we're going to do here is, I needed more water. I don't know why I didn't bring more water. Bad me. I need some water, and let's try this blue. That's like a pretty royal or cobalt blue. And yes, that's really wet, but that's how I wanted it. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to get this brick red color. Hope y'all are still there with me. And come back here. I'm not going to blend them so much as give them the chance to blend themselves, because there's lots of water right here. Well, there's lots of water on the whole card. So plastic wrap, saran wrap, you name it. That's what this is. Brand new box, not even opened. And I'll be doing good if I can get it out without tangling myself up in it, you know. But I just need a little bit. Okay. No, I haven't punched the ends in yet. But what I want to do is lay the saran wrap, the paper wrap, plastic wrap over this piece of paper, piece of card with the wet paint, and I want to scrunch it. I don't want to lay it flat, okay? I want to kind of scrunch it and see what it's going to do. That's wet paint under there. I want to make it go different places. And you see, you know, wherever it's just flat, it's just a boring little flat spot. So I'm trying to give it some texture. See how that's going. That has to dry. Let's go with this greenish yellowish color. Can you see how it's a lot wetter right here and than it is over in these places? That's what you do when you just spritz it with the water. And then I'm gonna kind of smooth it back out. And I'm gonna take a little of this brown. I guess this is brown. I don't usually use browns. I'm not a nature tones. I'm a jewel tones. Is that not obvious? So I'm just gonna see how that's going. Was it this one? But I'm going a lot lighter with the brown than I did with the golden color, so we'll see how that goes. And what I'm going to do with that is a nudger. That's what was getting ready to come out of my mouth. Another texture. This is like a bag that your oranges would come in. But what this really is, I mean, the netting thing is what your oranges come in, and it's like this, but this was sold as a bag to put your yarn in so that it would not roll around and you could just pull from the ball of yarn. I always found I had a ton of trouble getting my yarn in there without it getting torn all to shreds with these little pieces at the top. Ugh, made me so mad. Nothing really. So let's try something different there, since that texture really didn't work from there. I have some Tim Holtz Distress Spray Stain in Evergreen Bough. Let's just see how that looks if I try to spray it through this. Ooh, you get a lovely effect on your nails. All right, I'm going to try to pull this up. That's better, but I think I still moved it and jogged it a little bit when I was picking it up. But that is texture on that piece, isn't it? You can see that, right? All right, hold on while I get set up again. Okay, here I am with another sheet that I have taped off. And I need, this is going to be some wet and dry techniques, or dry on dry. So anyway, what I want to do first is just fill up, well, I'm going to do this one, this one, this one, and this one. I just did all the rest because I had measured. And I may just go ahead and do those in just a wash, just because. You, let's see, you start with a lot of water, a very wet water. Oh, water is usually wet, but even more so. So there we go. And let's use this red. Let's, like you have a choice in it. That's like the nurse comes in and says, how do we feel today? We feel like crap. That's why I'm in the hospital. Okay, and I'm going to get a little more color. Okay, and I'm going to show you down here on dry paper, hadn't been wet. I got this really wet, watery color. And this is what I've seen the artists do. They come here and they make like a, this is supposed to be a flower petal. So then we come here and we make another one that doesn't touch with our very wet, watery paint. And you can see how wet it is, right? See? Go get some more and make another petal. Oops, I wasn't supposed to let it touch, but I did. I don't know if it'll work now, but we'll see. And come over here and make a watery petal. Okay. You see how wet all of these are. And you go back and even add more paint into it if you want to. Okay, now your little petals are full of water. Of course, the artists on YouTube, their water always looks, their petals always look more flowery. All right, now I'm taking my brush that I've dried off, and I'm going in here, and I'm just trying to pick up any paint, any wet paint that remains. So like any of the soupy bits. This one right here, I put water on, and now it's sitting there going, I thought you were going to use me. I will, sorry. Okay, can you see what I'm doing? It's almost like I want to just barely stain the paper. And I want to remove any extra paint, any extra water. And you can see how wet this is. Yes, I hope so. Okay. And even if it's autumn, you need a little green. Okay. All right. I hope you're still with me there. And I want to go back and show you this glazing technique on this flower back here. I needed a bowl of water. Okay, so this is dry where I did these flower petals. Yes. I'm going back in that water. I'm going to get a little bit of this red right next to it and add it in. It's still really wet, still lots of water, and let's see if this works. I want that to be kind of heavy. I might add in a little bit more paint to the water. And then I'm going to go right here. I'm going to make another petal. Lots of water. See, there's lots of water on there now. Okay. I'm going to let it sit there for a few seconds. And I'm going to come back in with my dry brush. I'm just going to try to lift off the water. Somebody asked who did I like to watch for painting and such. There's a Jay Lee, and he is a really nice watercolorist painter, and he always has his little baby right there with him. If you go back to the beginning of his series, the baby's just been born and he's barely an infant, and now he's sitting up in his high chair, you know. So but he's very good and patient, and he is the one I have seen use this glazing, is what he calls it, technique. And I like his a lot. For mixed media, I like Kelly Donovan. She's a hoot. She's very funny, and she's very positive in her encouraging words to other people. She says, don't say you can't do it, just try. And she's really big about saying you don't have to have the nicest paints, you don't have to have fancy stuff, just do it with what you have. If you've got Crayola crayons, use Crayola crayons. If you've got Crayola markers, use markers. If you know, just experiment with what you have and see how it goes. Now see, this is another dry spot, and I don't like it because I don't like it that much, so I'm going to do that. And even though I don't have any idea what I'm going to do with these art cards, artist trading cards, I know that if I don't like the color on this one, I might like it on this one. It's not that you just go with the flow, see what you have, and then see what that sparks in you, how that makes you feel. All right, I'm going to do one more layer on the glazing flower here. I'm going to add a little bit more paint so it's a little bit of a different color. All right, these are just dry. So you see the paint's not running at all like with the water into the other colors because the layers are dry under there. One thing I am going to do, I'm going to put one more petal here. Is I'm going to just kind of lightly dust the background like this. Teeny bit of a different shade. But just a little bit of, you know, I know I won't color on the whole card, but maybe I will want to come in with a Zentangle, or maybe I want to come in and, you know, put a picture or something like that. I don't consider myself an artist. I cannot really draw that well. I can kind of trace and that kind of stuff, but oops. That's what happens when I get to going too fast. I make a mess and mess up what I was supposed to be doing. Okay, dry brush again. I want to lift the pigment or the paint up. And this is called glazing. I'm not sure I've got it down. But you see, the idea is you have these different transparent layers. And then there needs to be a really deep layer in there in the center. All right, now these on the top have dried something pretty much. So now I've turned this upside down. What I have here is some Liquitex basic gesso. It's acrylic. It is white, like it's got a little body to it. I'm going to kind of spread it out, and you can see that this is the lid of a prescription bottle, and I've just put it in this gesso all around, and I'm going to come in here and stamp. You can add paint. Ugh, see? Screw it up. You can add paint to the gesso so that it will have a color. I think probably it would be better if you used acrylic paint than not. There you go. I'm going to use another lid. This is a lid off of my spray bottle. Again, I'm not saying I've done, these are my ideas. These are ideas I have gotten from the internet, YouTube, and I just thought it would be nice to have them all in one place, and if not just for me, for everybody, because I'm trying to stamp over that little piece of tape to see how that's going to do. And I've just spread out this gesso on my craft mat. And it's always interesting to have some of your circles off the edge of the paper. Okay, let's take the that'll have to be washed. Okay, let's take the washi tape off on this one. Where the water has, the wet paint has come in different areas of that. Okay, this one, remember this? And we had our plastic down. That's where the mesh was. I really like that. And then that's where the plastic wrap was. I think if that had been a larger area, it would have been easier to get a better effect. But for now, I'm happy. Let's see if this did any better. Not really. We tried. You and me, we tried. This is where the lace was. I can see a very faint impression in the paper, but that's about it. So here we had the mesh. Here we had the plastic wrap. Let me start taking off the tape. This one, the first one there, still looks a little damp at the salty area. Let me get my trash can. And I'm going to just brush that. And the reason that it may have looked damp was that where the salt was sitting on top, that's not really dry good. Darn it. Oh, maybe it was just my fat finger that it's doing a whole lot better with paper towel. perhaps I used too much salt. It just looks like a lighter area. Yes. And this one is where I dropped the alcohol, and where I thought I had really messed up by using the alcohol we have, which has wintergreen and glycerin in it. It looks just fine. I really like it. Okay, this one, the blue and yellow and purple, that one is the one where I took the paint off with the paper towel. This one is where I took the paint off with the dime inside the paper towel. This one up here was bubble wrap. And this one here is our failed lace. That is the plastic wrap, and then the mesh. So there we are. 34 minutes, and I have 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 backgrounds for ATC cards or anything else I want to do. They're all different. They're all mine, and I'm proud of them. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give me a thumbs up. Like, subscribe, hit the little bell to get a reminder when I put out content. Thanks for watching.